Hello guys and welcome back to a very special episode of SPL Social. Today we're out and about at the Dutch colony here in our Tampines hub. I'm Ash from Footballita and today I'm joined by the Physio Circle, who I believe are one of the main sponsors of Hougang United. And we're very excited to also feature them because there's been a lot of conversations about physios and the work they do off the pitch. So I just want to introduce you guys today to Ain as well as Shoban. Thank you so much guys for joining me.
Hi!
Yep. It's a great pleasure, and of course we'll start with a little bit about what you guys do. Maybe Ain and Shoban, you can share a little bit about the physio room's role at Hougang United.
So Physio Circle, we've been working with Hougang for about a couple of years now, and this is the first year we started working with the women's team as well, which is what Ain looks after too. So predominantly just involved in the rehab side of things. The players get injured, they get assessed by the sports trainer in the club, and then they come to us in the clinic, and then we help out on the match day as well, so running onto the pitch, making sure they're okay, and then just working with the whole team to get players back into the first squad again.
So on top of that, we also work with the team doctors, the strength conditioning coach, and also the managers as well, in terms of like the rehab plans for the players who are injured and how soon they can go back to football. And I guess that is also part of the whole physio role in football.
So I think a lot of people know about the role of physios, but they don't really understand, exactly what you guys do and how important really the role is. So I just want to talk a little bit about injuries. Shoban, maybe you can share what are some of the common injuries you see in like local football and also maybe just with Hougang United as well.
Ankles are very common. So I mean, rolling ankles, knee injuries. We've seen a few meniscus, few MCL, LCL injuries. I'd say the ankle and knee is the most common. Sometimes we've had players going up for headers, landing bad on their back, on their neck, etc. But those are rarer. But I'd say ankles and knees, right?
Yeah. I guess there's also a fair share of like muscle strains and tears. I guess that's the hardest part because it takes quite a long time for them to get back to football at 100%. So maybe they might feel like they can go back at 50%, but then with muscle tears, it's like, you push a little bit more and then you're going to tear the muscles again. So I think quadriceps, hamstrings and calf are the few muscles that commonly get injured in football.
Wow, it's very interesting, guys. So I just wanted to ask also, Shoban, maybe you can shed some light on this. Was there a reason why you guys decided to work with Hougang United, and get into local football and support it as well?
So our first clinic is in Serangoon. So Hougang actually came to us and asked would we be interested in working with them in the SPL season about 2 years ago. And we had a couple of friends working already in Hougang who introduced us and made the connection. But to be fair, I have never really got into the SPL before that. I think Ain watched a little bit, but when we did our research into Hougang, number one, they were the only team in the northeast, and that's our area as well. And I've lived in Punggol for 7-8 years now, so I thought, okay, this is a perfect team for us. And then just based on the club, what they've been doing the last couple of years, the Hougang Cool's fan support as well was impressive. And we thought, we both enjoy football, we see a lot of footballers in the clinic and the other physios too, and we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to get involved and to support a local club too.
Yeah, it's great to see that actually. And Ain, for yourself,
I guess I used to play competitive football with Arion like 10 years ago. So I guess it is a massive change since then. And this is a great way for me to also contribute to the local football scene since I'm not playing competitively. So yeah. So probably that's one of my reasons why.
Honestly, it's really great to see you guys supporting local football because we really are hoping to get more brands as well involved in the local scene, and it's also something I think that complements, in terms of the physio work and recovery as well. Speaking of which, I have a question on, how do you guys think, physios can help? You were talking a little bit about muscle tears and all, right? Extensively, what's the day-to-day like in your role with Hougang United?
I guess maybe I can talk a bit more about the women's side. So the women's side, the most common injuries are like ankle sprains actually. So what we'll do is actually we get them in as soon as possible. So if they had an injury on a particular day, we try to get it in by the next working day as well. So
as soon as we can.
As soon as we can, because I think that's the most important. I guess that makes us slightly different than what the SNC can do, what the coaches can do, which is the more important role of the physio in a team setting. So after the first session, they usually feels a little bit better. I guess there is some sort of comfort with all right, now I know what to do, what my next course of action is, and then when I can look forward to playing back.
Okay, I've got also a little bit about a question about artificial turf. And Shoban, maybe you can shed some light on this. A lot of chat in Singapore about the use of artificial turf and how it's actually impacted injuries and maybe directly or indirectly caused ACL, for example. Can you comment on that?
I mean, it's a very hot topic now. Yeah, I think we've been asked that by many patients who come into the clinic. Because predominantly we use a lot of artificial pitches here for social games to futsal to even SPL. So, I mean, the research is very clear, but the problem is the research is limited as well because there's not much money being pumped into that yet. And in the next few years, there's a lot more research coming out from Qatar about artificial pitches as well. But the bottom line is at the moment is a good artificial pitch is equally as safe as a good football, as a grass pitch. But the poorer the artificial pitch gets and the less management, the less looking after, it's way more dangerous than a poorly managed grass pitch. And that's what the research shows. The other problem about artificial pitches is the type of boot you might use on the artificial pitch. So I mean, there's a few different types of boots, but the two predominant ones that we see here are FG and AG. So FG boots are firm ground, AG are artificial ground. But if you look at most of the shops, they sell a lot of FG boots because those are what the players wear. The style of the boots are a lot nicer than the AG boots. And people might not be aware about that boot type. So if you couple the wrong boot with a poor artificial pitch, that's when you get your knee injuries, your ankle injuries, your foot gets stuck in the turf, and that's when you might tear the ACL. One of the things we did this year for Hougang is we did a education, like just chat for the players, because we moved from Hougang, which is a grass pitch, to Jalan Besar, which is then an artificial pitch. Just about educating them about FG boots, AG boots, making sure we have two pairs because, for example, they'll play at Bisham, which is grass, then next week go down to Jurong East, which is very hard artificial, then back to JBS as well. So they just need to be able to switch the boots around. And so far we've been lucky that we haven't had any ACL so far. Touch wood.
Yeah.
Hey, it seems to be working then and there's no ACL so far. No, maybe you can shed a little bit of light about the boots. You say AG and FG boots, right? So is it like about the studs or the material? What's that?
The AG and FG refer back to the sole plate of the boot. So FG boots are more blades. They are spread out in a way so they can increase traction on a grass pitch so that you're not slipping. Whereas AG boots are more conical studs, spread out nicely across the boots. If you wore AG on a grass pitch, you might end up slipping. Whereas if you wore it on a turf where there's friction, there's nice friction between the two. Yeah.
So you would say, Shoban, maybe you can chime in on this as well. The reason why we are having a lot of ACL injuries here is a combination of both. It's not just the grass, it's the boot as well. So it's not 100% the grass.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I guess there's also a pool of players that actually have ankle injuries and subsequently they have knee injuries. So the ankle injuries are usually happen mostly on like the wrong pair of boots on the turf, and most of the time I guess they only have one pair and they love that one pair, So.
But they've been sponsored with one pair.
Oh yeah, sponsored with one pair.
They want to use that one pair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a tough one actually. Yeah. You've got to say. Even as a role as a physio, I just want to ask you, like, through the years, how do you think the role has changed? Ain, you've played before and now you're working here. Like, do you see like a change in terms of how you deal with players and the incidents that you guys see as well?
I guess it's very new to me as well. Like being a player is very different than like actually being like treating one. So at a point of time there was only a coach, like for women's football, and then the team is self-running. So like you do your own runs, you do your own dieting, you do your own physio and recovery, or ask each other. Whereas now, I guess the person that actually have the ability to also identify the risk of injuries. Let's say someone has an ankle injuries, I will ensure that they make sure get back full mobility and strength of their ankle because there's a risk of injuring like the other joints like the knees.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, and then I've got to ask you as well, because you work with players day in and day out, right? So there's this keyword, buzzword out there, which is mental health. And I'm sure many of players are coming to you guys low spirits because they're injured, they don't know what the future holds for it. So, how do physios play a part in making sure their mental health is, up and...
I mean, I like to think that there's a little bit of counselling involved, probably doing stuff that we didn't expect to do when we were physio graduates. I mean, it is upsetting for whether you're an amateur player or whether you're a professional player. If you've been told you're out for 6 months, 1 year, not getting to be able to play with your friends, or you're worried about your position in the team or your improvement or how you're doing, it can take a big toll on you. So we do work on that mental aspect of the game as well with the players. But the simple stuff, just asking how they feel, talking about their goals, understanding their worries. and then just trying to reassure them and get them on a pathway that will get them back to full fitness.
Yeah.
Ain, is there anything like you try to tell the players, maybe in terms of, I don't know, something
Yeah.
that...
So I guess we always use like analogy, like, you know, trying to reach your goal and you have like 5 steps ahead of you, but instead of that 5 steps, you create like maybe 15 steps ahead. So you create like small goals so that they can focus on their improvement and not thinking about their injuries and why they're not back, yeah.
So it's all about patience, right? Because I'm sure many of them, as you
Yes.
mentioned it earlier on, that they want to start
Yeah.
ASAP when they feel that they're ready.
Yeah.
So how do you tell them that they're not ready?
Wow.
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 You know, initially that was very tough.
Yeah.
Telling a player you're not ready.
Yeah.
But the more we work with these guys, the more we realize it's just be
tell
firm.
them. Yeah.
Just be firm.
Yeah.
So you're not ready.
Yeah.
It's our advice not to do this, and we say to
Yeah.
the coaches as well, they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And it's important as well because I'm sure it's based on the research that you do that they're not ready. Because what happens if they were to start ahead of, you know, their time?
Wow. I guess most of the time we can't. We have a say in it, but then we can't really control the outcome. But if they do go back, a lot of times they might aggravate or exacerbate the injury. So like within 15 minutes, they're like, oh, all right, I need to go out.
So you should always listen to your physio.
Ideally.
Ideally.
I mean, weighing in on that, we've had players, professional or social, go in a bit too early, but then they'll themselves pull themselves out because they're not at 100%, or they can't turn as well, or they can't push off as well, or that fear kicks in as well. So yeah, but I'd say they've grown to trust our judgment a lot more over the last 2 years, so they listen to us a bit more now. Yeah.
What about the fitness and the intensity of the league? Because we do have that question of our players not being fit enough to last 70, 80 minutes. Is it something that physios play a part in, or is it more of a fitness thing?
Yes, I guess. Like within the session, we will assess entirely almost everything as much as we can within the 45-minute session. So we normally found out that they don't have fitness for a certain type of movements. For example, like maybe cardiorespiratory, they are not well with like squat jumps, for example.
Yeah.
So we will include that in as part of the treatment itself, and then telling them to focus on these areas when they are training with their strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, at Hougang we have a fitness coach, S&C coach, a sports scientist, sports trainer, then us. So everybody's able to pick and see if something's not right, feedback to the team, and we work as a whole medical team to work on that player's program. So if we find that fitness is a problem, we work on it in session, but then we feed back to the fitness trainer as well, and they add into that element in their sessions too.
Very interesting. So then my next question is, for both of you, what's the most rewarding part of your job? What do you love about what you do?
What do I love?
It's going to be very cliche, I guess.
Yeah, I know, right? It's gonna be the answer that everyone hears. When they are going back to football pain-free. Okay, that's the main thing. But then I guess within like the sessions itself, if they are able to pick out like, you know, I'm actually able to do a squat without any pain. Like they're able to figure it out themselves. I think that's very rewarding because you can tell them like multiple times, and maybe that multiple times they don't understand until that one like session they were like, oh, you know what, I get it now.
Yeah.
So sometimes it requires them to also learn about their body, and being patient is actually one of the, I guess, main thing about rehab. If they are able to be patient, they actually will get the results.
Okay, patience, yeah. Shoban, for yourself?
I mean, building on what Ain said, the patience thing is a big thing.
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, if I can get them to celebrate the little wins, that's very rewarding, because you know they understand the process, they buy into what's going on, they know it's a long game. So just finding out what their why is and celebrating the little wins, it just helps change their mindset a little bit, and that's quite good.
Speaking of mindset, I'm sure you're working with a lot of players at Hougang as well. Is there any favorite player or player that stood out to you? Both of you are laughing. I'm sure there's one.
I mean, they're all. I can say safely at Hougang, the men's team anyway is. I mean, every player is respectful, nice, good. Naturally, if you've spent maybe 6 months to a year with one player, you build a very close relationship with. So I mean, I've got good relationships with Jordan and Aki because we worked on their rehab for a long time. But all the guys are good.
Awesome, top. You work with the women's team as well?
Yeah, I guess I have a favorite Hougang men's player, which is Kaishu.
I mean, he's not there anymore.
He's not there anymore.
Yeah, he was very, very nice.
Yeah, he was very nice.
Hilarious. Yeah. Always full of jokes, Kaishu.
Right, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh well, hopefully he comes back maybe and helps you guys out once it's done in Japan. Alright guys, I've got a bit of before we go, I just want to ask you guys, like, Since you all are in the game, you're here, supporting football, and also you've run the clinic as well. I'm sure a lot of young physios who are up and coming might want to be involved in what you do. So do you have any advice for them? Maybe in terms of the pathway they can take.
Yeah, I guess if you have the opportunity to shadow like a sports physio or a physio that you actually like the style of working, I think it will be a good experience for you because with athletes, I guess you will have to observe like the littlest movement that they have. It's not about the large movements, right? Not all like the squat form is poor, but it's like the littlest movement they're not turning well. So being involved in like the athletes itself is actually very important.
Okay.
Apart from what Ain said, both of us started at Changi.
Yeah.
So we spent 3-4 years there learning our trade. So we always tell young physios, maybe go into a setting like a hospital, try different types of rotations out to see what you like, pick up different knowledge, try different skills. Then if you realize sports or kind of musculoskeletal is your thing, then come out and come into a clinic and try it out.
And of course, I'm going to do a bit of a plug for you guys in case you all need any, any physio concerns or you want to get yourself checked. Obviously, head down to your clinic. I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to welcome you guys. You can check them out here. I'll leave all the details below. And of course, thank you so much for supporting local football, guys. We need more physios, and talents as well in the game. Thank you so much, Shoban and Ain as well. And of course, all the best with what you guys do at Hougang United. I'll see you guys next time, guys.